Good morning, everyone. Tuesday morning, how do these weeks go so fast? Look, say g'day, partly. Always love to know who's online and whereabouts in this wonderful country and world you are. It also lets me know whether I've got my microphone on. According to my systems, everything's working for a change, but I have no doubt you'll let me know if that is not the case. So welcome to Solid Ground, one of the many Family First media productions effectively now. And Solid Ground, as the name suggests, is about talking, well, with a good solid platform of ethics, of philosophy, faith, and politics. And so I look back on some of the events of the last few days or week and discuss them with you. And I say with you because if you are tuning in on the likes of the Family First Facebook page or YouTube, if you comment, it'll come directly to me here in the studio. If you're on LinkedIn or X or you're on my personal Facebook page, lovely to have you along. Feel very free to be part of the show. I'll read all comments afterwards. But if you want those comments to come live to me here in studio, as I say, jump onto the Family First Facebook page or the Family First YouTube channel and would be, well, love to hear from you all. So look, guys, quite a lot to discuss today, though I'm going to finish by 8:30 for a change. For amongst other things, my youngest stepdaughter is graduating today, so that is quite exciting. Off to my side at the moment, not in the studio, but in another part of the house. I can hear the family busy running about, and I'm sure in a few moments they'll be wrestling with those gowns. To Nancy Margaret, good morning. Here's just a hint for those people who are online, so you can jump on and send through your messages. Ian, good morning. Lovely to have you here. Lovely to have everyone here, actually. I've got actually something I think quite lovely to share with you to start the morning, something positive for a change. And we've got Gillian here. Hello to Gillian and John from Kerry. Beautiful Kerry. I was up there recently. I won't be able to say exactly where because I don't remember, but we stayed in a marvellous Airbnb just outside the township, and I mean, as you guys know, it's just stunning up there. We love it. Now, what was I going to share with you? Something I think, if I might, because as I say, today's special for a number of reasons, and Rosie's just nailed it. It's our anniversary. There we go. So 8 years ago, I married this amazing woman. In fact, look, let me do this. There we go. You don't want to have to see me talking. That's Rachel and I. 8 years ago, we got married. Best decision of my life, I have to say. I've been joking online because I've posted this on my Facebook and Instagram. One of us hasn't aged a day, and I think I wrote, well, I know I wrote it because I did it. My now grey hair is quite in contrast to my suit, but literally Rachel hasn't aged a day. I mean, she's just stunning, just beautiful. So yeah, as I say, best decision of my life was marrying her. We'll have to bring her. We'll have to bring her on as a guest of the show to get her side of the story. So yeah, anyway, there's Rosie. Thank you very much, Rosie, and to others. It's very much appreciated. So there's a nice little personal start. And thank you to Noel, actually, and thanks Noel for all that you've been doing to help us as well. Deeply appreciative of that. And now Bob's just been texting me. Bob's actually away at the moment. He's been celebrating not 8 years of marriage to his lovely wife, but they're up to, I think I'm going to say it, well I am about to, 35 amazing years. So they're taking a bit of a break, but Bob's busy texting me. I can feel it vibrating on my wrist. Anyway, moving away from such joyful topics, I thought I might just start with something that it's to do with the Israel-Gaza stuff, but I thought I'd just show you this. I don't intend actually to go into depth, but we're now ending in an absolute absurd place. And look, last week, and I don't have the photo here, actually a small group of us farewelled the Israeli ambassador. His 4 years up, and so Ran Yacobi was his name, and I worked quite closely with him over the years. Partly come out of that foreign affairs space that I was working in, but got to know him quite well. So I followed the issues clearly, and I would suggest to people watching that there might be a range of views around what is happening in the Levant, as in between Hamas, Hezbollah, and the State of Israel. But we're now ending up with this absolute absurdity which someone sent me yesterday, and that's what I want to address. So, you can have, well, of course you can. There's a range of views on the topic. But now when you get to this level, It's just idiotic, to put not too fine a point on it. Okay, we all know, as I say, it's called solid ground because we rest on good history, good theology, good philosophy, and a bit of common sense. So I'm sorry to say to these organisers, Jesus was not a Palestinian. Jesus was a Jew. And that has to be said very loudly and very clearly, not just because of what's happening in the conflict at the moment, but we have to be real. And if we are people of faith, and for those that are, Jesus's Jewishness is actually quite critical. To understanding who he was, and then of course the development of the Christian faith and salvation. So this stuff, as I say, is just absolutely stupid, beyond measure. But it's just a sign of the mischief, if I was to be somewhat diplomatic, that it is going on at the moment. Not only usurping the Christian God. I mean, you imagine doing that to Muhammad. Okay, dearie me. So let's be aware of that. But also, it's just not historical at any means. So because of that, I'm going to share this. This is actually in Wellington for those who want to go along. If you want to push back against this sort of absurdity, which is becoming more and more absurd, you're now seeing, as I say, what's been happening in Melbourne. A synagogue's been set on fire. There's ongoing violence. Sitting down with some of our Jewish community over the recent weeks and months. What's happening in this country is horrendous, from the the abuse, the assaults, the damage that's been done. So this is Wellington on Wednesday. If you want to go along, there's going to be lots of people there. So I don't normally promote various events. Well, I do, like March for Life and so forth. This is slightly tangential, but I must admit this sort of absolute stupidity needs to be called out. And Sue Reed here, one of my lovely commenters, absolutely. In fact, I think Albanese has been exceptionally slow, exceptionally so. There seems to be an inability to call out terroristic behaviour, and certainly from certain groups. What amazes me, though, and people will know this, what amazes me is how those very people who attack, abuse, yell, scream, they're the first to get offended themselves if you use a wrong pronoun or look at them the wrong way. In fact, I was struck, and I don't have any footage of it with me, but we did the March for Life on Saturday down in Wellington. Family First was there, had several of my colleagues, Gordon and James, came down. Look, a huge turnout of people. It was absolutely marvellous. If actually you head over to the Family First Facebook page, you'll see all the great footage and commentary there. It was a stunning and beautiful day, and just wonderful to see such a range of New Zealanders from old to young, male and female, all just turning out and had a wonderful time. But what was striking was a very small, God, if there was 50 of them, I'd be amazed, counter-protesters, the death cultists, as I like to call them, screaming and yelling all about their bodies and choice, which is funny because amongst the other ironies, as I say, they get all very angry and upset. But the moment someone says something at them, they start to cry like victims. It's a classic, actually, abuser profile. But the other thing is that we have to laugh, and someone did point it out to me, which I thought was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. As I say, they're screaming the usual tired slogan of "my body, my choice." But I'd say that all of those 50 people, all 50 of them would have been trying to force the vaccination on you years ago. When it came to that, it didn't count. So I just think it's hilarious. Yeah. And actually, Gavin nails something here, as jumping back to that Israeli question. Absolutely. I mean, as Christians, we believe in Jesus as both God and man. Three persons, two natures, and Father, Son, Holy Spirit. But his Jewishness is an essential part of him. But yeah, Gavin's right. He's the Son of God, which is amazing. So guys, we might just jump. Actually, I'm going to take a quick second because my throat's about to give out. There we go. Also, a reminder about these mugs. We've changed tack slightly. In fact, you get a choice of mugs, which I don't have all in front of me. People have been asking me, how do we get these mugs which are beginning to appear on Straight Talk and Political Playback, Solid Ground, of course? Well, check your emails. You should have got something from Family First last evening or on Sunday evening. We're doing our Christmas fundraising drive. We don't do many fundraisers in the year. Long and short, check out the email from Bob. If you donate generously, we're not talking millions, but if you want to, you're welcome. But if you donate generously, we will send you a mug of your choice. There's a gentle, happy and fun competition to see how many McBlog cups will go out versus how many solid ground cups will go out, or political playback, or family first. There's a whole suite of them. So yeah, check out that. And to those that I've been doing the Mugs for Mugs campaign for in the last few weeks, they should be in the mail now. If you haven't received them, just let me know and we'll follow that up. Now, jumping ahead because I'm all over the place as usual. This caught my eye. I thought this was just absolutely hilarious. I'm sorry I haven't got any better footage, but the headline gives you a hint of what that is supposed to be. So the first thing I would say, after taking my swig of coffee, the first thing I would say is it's not a pedestrian crossing. And isn't it striking in the name of gender ideology? And I say that quite distinctly because actually I have a number of friends in the, if you want to say the gay or lesbian community, have got no time for all of this stuff. They think it's just absolutely crazy. But it's an ideology now trumping safety. There's always been questions of whether or not putting down massive rainbow, ever increasing by the way, you've got to now put in triangles and circles and all this other mad stuff, over safety, because all of us know a pedestrian crossing is black and white. And you can make a little bit of tolerance, if you will, all puns intended, for a rainbow crossing. But this is the latest. And I don't know how well you can see that, but that don't look like a pedestrian crossing to me. It looks like one of the road workers was completely and utterly drunk. When, it's just, again, ideology over safety. And a big part of this too is now the gender ideology has to intersect, again, another deliberate pun or double entendre, with critical race theory. Because in theory, what you're seeing in front of you is not just a rainbow crossing, but is now trying to weave into our Māori narratives as well. All on a pedestrian crossing, which is rather remarkable. So as I say, just stupid, really. And this is down in Dunedin. These are just plans at the moment. I think they want to do 2 of them. But I just return to my central point that safety has been well compromised. I mean, how on earth people are to understand that as a pedestrian crossing, I don't know. And maybe that's a lack on my part, but as I say, it looks to me like someone was completely and utterly drunk when they were designing that, let alone when they're going to paint it. Anyway, thanks to Dennis, a lovely little comment there. Thank you very much. I'm loving doing this. I'm even getting the text sorted for a change, Dennis. It's just okay. Now, what's the next? Oh yes. Sorry, I'm scrolling through a whole lot of things that I've pulled together. This was just out last evening. You might have been, you'll probably all be aware of Gloria Vale. Let's not comment too much on them. We could spend the whole morning. But recently, BNZ said, hey, look, we don't want to have you banking with us anymore. And to be somewhat fair on BNZ, because I'm slightly torn on this, I have to admit, guys. So at one level, I don't like what they call debanking. So long and short, what's happened here? Actually, I'm going a bit too far down the road before getting the basics sorted, Debanking is when organisations, in this case, like the Bank of New Zealand, have decided they don't like Gloria Vale and do not offer them banking services. It's happened to other organisations, and it's certainly been happening overseas. In fact, one of the more famous people was Nigel Farage. He's now he's an MP, leader of the Reform Party, because of his right-wing views. His bank debanked him. In other words, no, we're not going to allow you to have a bank account. And as you all know, you really can't live in a modern society without access to banking. And so this is quite a test case and a precedent-setting case. So long and the short, New Zealand's courts have said it's actually okay for BNZ to debank, to stop, in this case, Gloria Vale having a bank account. And it actually is quite worrying in the very general sense, but then I need to come to the specific, because I actually don't think, in my opinion, BNZ's 100% wrong on this. Or rather, the judgment's not wrong. So debanking is very dangerous, guys. If your bank, doesn't matter if it's BNZ or ASB, TSB, whoever, starts deciding that they're going to remove services from people based on their beliefs, we've got a major issue on our hand. As I say, Nigel Farage had his accounts closed because of his political beliefs. Even though I see Gloria Vale as a cult, it still has a set of beliefs. And again, the bank says we don't want to deal with that. Although to be fair, and this is where it's important, we won't, can't go into it too much. Otherwise, I'll bore you completely. There are what they call modern slavery issues here in terms of, and I'm a big proponent of modern slavery legislation. So that's, basically forcing young people, women and other marginalised groups into work, often cheaply or not paid. There is or are elements of this around Gloria Vale. So, at one level I can understand where BNZ's coming from, but taking a step back, this debanking is dangerous because if banks start turning around and going to various groups, we don't like this political party, we don't like this church, we don't like that, that's a really problematic area. And again, the inconsistencies of the progressive woke left kick in because they'll be celebrating this. They think this is just marvellous. But of course, when the baker refuses to bake a wedding cake, all hell breaks loose. So again, which one is it, basically? So the Supreme Court has said, and there's a real nuance in this, the Supreme Court has sided with the bank and said, yes, you can debank them, you can remove them. But it's a dangerous decision because what they say is, look, it's not BNZ's responsibility to be aware of what all the other banks are doing. So put in another simple way, it's not up to BNZ to work out which banks will or will not give Gloria Vale a bank account. And so if BNZ wants to close it, they can. There's grounds for that. They don't have to be worrying about whether other banks will or won't take them on. So academically, it sounds really good. At one level, no, this bank can operate this way, Gloria Vale can just go somewhere else. Well, the problem we might run into, or they might run into, is there may not be anywhere else. We see a lot of collusion within the corporate and media world these days. I mean, have you noticed the New Zealand Herald and stuff and RNZ pretty much always parrot the same lines? Banks all sort of act relatively similarly. So New Zealand probably does need some legislation to make sure that actually someone can't be completely debanked. If a BNZ or an ASB wants to get rid of a company or a group like Gloria Vale or, I don't know, Destiny Church, Family First, whoever they've decided they don't like today, there has to be a backup plan, which is a very long way of me getting to that point. So debanking is dangerous, very, very dangerous, and a bit of a problem. And so let's see what happens from here. I don't know if they can appeal, but as I say, that the court technically went down the line of saying, look, one bank doesn't have to be responsible for all the banks. They're allowed to make their decision. But I don't think the courts thought about what happens when all the banks make the same decision. And again, you just have to, step back from what you think or not think of Gloria Vale. Banking is absolutely essential to people now. And if you have all of that removed from you, that's a problem. And double down on it when you consider that New Zealand's considering what they call central bank digital currencies, in other words, no cash. Now you run into some real issues. And actually I've talked elsewhere about this, that actually having only a digital currency completely controlled by the state, you're now in CCP or China territory, where all of a sudden, if you're not towing the line, people like me who happen to be, right of centre, Christian and conservative, all of a sudden find their bank account shut down because we're not towing the line on a woke narrative. Might sound like a dystopian future, but it's quite possible. Woke, I think it's woke sick here. Smaller banks are getting swallowed up. That's true. To Bella, good morning. But she also notes that we shouldn't be surprised. No, we shouldn't. I think unfortunately actually, I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole. Gloria Vale, we could spend all morning. And Amanda notes it's a bit like gaslighting. Yeah, I think it is. So, yeah. Oh, and Anna's nailed it here too, I think. Yeah, a social credit system. I say if they go down to this digital currency side, it gets even worse. So, yes, it's again, don't get caught up on the Gloria Vale side of things per se. Just be aware that this could affect many others. So, yeah, not good. Something also to be aware of. This is from the government side. They're talking about changing tax changes for charities. This should be setting off a bit of an alarm in people's heads. We don't know what it's going to be, but I can tell you, having been in the Parliament, there is often a deep resentment, particularly of Christian churches, and a desire really to hit them hard. So they'll be arguing from the likes of Sanitarium and others that these are Christian groups operating as charities, but are a commercial business, which of course is true. Nicola Willis and others, and it's not just her, this has gone across successive governments, including National. They've been keen for a little while. It's always been stopped up till now, but they do want to have a crack at these businesses, arguing that gives them an unfair advantage. So Sanitarium, as a charitable business, has an advantage, they argue, to a fully corporate cereal business. I don't buy that. You just need to look at the prices on the shelves. I don't think there is that massive competitive advantage, and actually it is for charities, so the profits, if you will, of the likes of a Sanitarium go back into their church and their good works. But the same, so that's the first thing. I don't think there's a massive commercial difference. I think there is a lot of resentment towards the church, and so being able to hit churches financially will be celebrated by many, again, on the woke left or atheistic side of things. But the other is, so much of New Zealand relies on charity, and it's something I'm not sure the government has fully understood, because actually we still have tens of thousands of people needing housing, tens of thousands unemployed, tens if not now hundreds of thousands needing food parcels and support, and most of these services are actually provided by charities. And so if the government goes after them and starts hitting their hospice shops and second-hand shops, their little cafes and so forth, that's going to be a big problem. The charities are not going to have as much money, and that's the long and short of it. They won't have as much money. So it's a bad decision if this goes ahead. Now, actually, I better half pull back from that, because we don't exactly know what they're going to do. Every law, certainly like charity law, does need a little review from time to time. But it does look like a money grab, and that's not good. And I was talking to a chartered accountant, and he may well be online listening in at the moment, so you can message me, Chris, if I've got this wrong. But he points out that actually if they move businesses, charitable businesses, from being charities, and they report in one way, in an accounting sense, to reporting as a corporate or commercial entity, they'll be able to claim a lot more off their taxes. And long and short, there's a possibility that a government won't actually get as much money because of all the extra compliance and so forth. Anyway, I'm not explaining that very well, but moving charities to be commercial enterprises, or treating them that way, may well see the government take in less tax. But my fundamental point is, if you are taking more money off churches and charities, that's less money to help people. And if we know anything about New Zealand at the moment, there are a lot of people who need help. Guys, I'm going to actually wind it up there. I'm just going to actually... this is just an example of, again, the way mainstream media begins to push a certain narrative. You hear it from the government ministers, hearing it from media, these big, wrong, evil churches and charities, which have got all this money that they should be handing over. Again, it's an unfair narrative. It's just very, very frustrating. So anyway, different comments are coming through here. I'm just skimming through them. So personally, and I don't know if this is exactly where Tarns is going, but long and short, I think, if charities had some gumption, if it turns out to be as bad as we suspect it could be, in other words, the government's really going to have a go at these charities, they should shut down the charities, that is, for a week or two, and let the Crown pay for the whole lot. That'll teach them a lesson and realise just how much good is done. Guys, I need to start wrapping up. As I said, it is my stepdaughter's graduation today, so I better go and suit up. But before I do, a reminder that Bob and I do our Substacks. I haven't actually written one this week. This was last week's. I'm just struggling for time, I must admit, but this was one on Candace Owen being canned. There we go, my terrible humour. Bob has written one as well. He's picking up on effectively fake news coming through, in this case, TV1, but he uses that as an example of wider wider problems within mainstream media. And then, of course, and I'll come back in after this, but this is just a reminder of the other media programs we have at Family First.
If you're looking for news that you can trust, commentary on key family and social issues, and conservative conversations, go no further. Family First has them all. Monday nights, live at 8 p.m, Straight Talk with our panel. Tuesday mornings, live at 8 a.m, Solid Ground with Simon O'Connor. Wednesdays, watch for the latest episode of Pulse Point to drop. We watch the news so that you don't have to. Thursdays, live at 5 p.m, Political Playback with Bob McCoskrie and Simon O'Connor discussing the week in Parliament and politics in general. Plus, there's regular episodes of social commentary with McBlog and interviews on family matters throughout the week. You can watch these live and also on demand on our website, Facebook page, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, and on our YouTube channel. Finally, something worth watching that you can trust. Go to familyfirst.watch for more details.
So I'll leave this little picture here. If people have come on late and going, what's this all about? This is my 8th wedding anniversary today, so that's my beautiful wife there. Hey, look, just a couple of things. Firstly, Simply Green should actually be the host of this show because he nails the whole element that we've talked about this morning around charities and banks. It's the government taking the place of God. And actually, you know what? You've nailed it. So yeah, we should have a vote. Simply Green gets to the message quicker than I do. Hey, very, very quickly about the Family First shows. We've parked Straight Talk for the rest of the year. It's coming back, don't you worry. Straight Talk will be back, but we're anticipating Christmas. Political Playback is this Thursday, and I'll be doing another Solid Ground next week, and that'll be my last one for the year. Of course, we'll be fully back early next year. And last reminder, if you want these little mugs, as I say, check for the Family First email that came out on Sunday. We are doing our little donation drive for the year, and if you donate generously, then we will send you a mug, and you get to choose from a whole array of them. So tremendous, guys. I better go and suit up. Lovely to have you all this morning. Where's that button? There we go. Lovely to have you all this morning, and I really look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday, which will be my last Solid Ground for the year. But in the meantime, you have a wonderful day.